Guys, I'm so excited to be talking with you about your film Just Sing, which is premiering at Tribeca. Let me tell you, I watched the documentary and then immediately hopped on my email and said, "Get me an interview with this team," because this was just such a cool experience to watch, and so I'm excited for it to be at Tribeca. To jump in, I want to start with the icebreaker question, and that question is, which artist would you like to hear a greatest hits melody and medley in acapella for? And Angelique, why don't we start with you on that one?
Immediately Luther Vandross.
Oh, girl, come on, yes, yes.
I mean, can it be done? Like, is anybody perfect enough? You know what I mean? Like,
It
I
would
don't
be
know.
challenging, but that would
Yeah,
be a great one.
yeah. Immediately Luther. Just so good.
Awesome. AB, what do you think?
Mm, that's a great question.
It is a really great question.
Yeah, I don't know. They say in interviews, give them the answer you want to answer rather than the question you were asked. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so literally before coming here, I was listening as I was on a jog earlier on my phone. I was listening to a Kylie Minogue medley. So,
Mm.
I wouldn't, and I, can't get that out of my head. So I would want to hear that in a cappella.
Awesome. Great choice. Sarah, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, this is slightly a cheat, but the team, and not to give it away, but one of the teams that competed in the ICCAs when we were filming, they did an epic mashup of Prince and Celine Dion, and it was like
Whoa.
it was an epic ballad.
That would be a really cool one to hear. Yeah. Great choices. I immediately go to, like, Taylor Swift is like one of my all-time favorite artists, and I listen to her music so much. I would love, I mean, that greatest hits would be like an hour long because she has, in my opinion, such a great catalog of music. But that'd be my choice. But all great choices there. Um, Angelique and AB, you guys are director cinematographers for Just Sing. Sarah, you're producer on the project. I really want to start with how you guys came across this. Actually, before I start with there, I want to talk more about experience with acapella, because this was something I was thinking about while I was watching the movie. Is my own experience with acapella.
All right.
I grew up. My parents listened to Take Six, and that was kind of my introduction to acapella. And I think from there, my parents always knew that there was something really special with like the art of acapella. Um, and so when the show The Sing Off started, we watched that first season, where of course Pentatonics came into being, and then I followed Pentatonics, and then of course we all know Pitch Perfect. So that was kind of my history. Sarah, we'll start with you. What's been your experience with acapella leading up to making up this documentary?
Well, truthfully, it was Pitch Perfect. I was lucky enough to work at Universal Pictures when we were working on the second Pitch Perfect movie, I think, and then also the third. And it was that really inspired me. And then I went down a sort of rabbit hole of, is this a real competition? And it is. And there's all these incredible kids all over the world sort of taking part. But yeah, it was definitely the movies.
AB, how about you? Was it the movies for you as well?
Well, definitely Pitch Perfect helped give a sense of what college a cappella is like. Um, but I think the moment we started the project really was understanding everything that's not Pitch Perfect, or like the real life Pitch Perfect, and seeing that the experiences that these kids were having singing in real life, not on stage, not like auto-tuned, but in a sort of crappy college backyard, was actually the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. Um, and that just sort of made us fall in love with it, and with them, and the project.
Very cool. Angelique, how about you?
So actually, it was not Pitch Perfect, but Pitch Perfect was definitely the way that made it not nerdy to me, or that made it this like beautiful, just thing that you wanted to be a part of. I was actually introduced to a cappella by the SoCal VoCals many, many moons ago when my sister was in college and I was like following her around as a little high school student. And her friend was a part of the SoCal VoCals, and it was like one of the first college parties I ever went to. And then I found myself there many moons later, filming the new generation of the VoCals.
It's so wild to know that this is a real thing, because obviously I've watched Pitch Perfect, and I love the Pitch Perfect story and the mashups and everything that they do in the movie. But like, okay, acapella is a thing, but this is probably Hollywoodized and glamorized, and like, collegiate acapella couldn't possibly be this cool. And then you guys make this documentary that shows that it actually is. And so maybe that leads into how you guys came across the story. And maybe I want to talk a little bit more about so the SoCal VoCals, and then the individual stories that you guys tell amongst the groups. Talk about discovering those stories.
Angelique, do you want to do
Oh,
that?
sure. Sure. So we, were really lucky to follow these 16 amazing, amazing students that are beyond talented, and everybody has so much to offer. At the end of the day, we ended up finding the story through the edit, not even finding the story. We ended up finding the characters through the edit and whatever was going to tell the story best. Because when we were following them for the time that we were following them, we knew that these people were all amazing, and we could tell every single individual story if we could. But we ended up going with what was best for the story through the edit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And I think the technicals is something I want to talk about, because AB and Angelique, you guys are cinematographers that like took on this project, right? AB, maybe talk to me about the work of a cinematographer and taking on directing, and like what kind of challenge that was for you, or maybe if it was a seamless process with this particular project. How do you feel about that?
Um, well, first of all, Angelique and I were sort of besties at film school together, and we had learned to sort of shoot each other's projects back in the day. So this was kind of an extension of that. Um, and I think we sort of had to find our own language of understanding without, communicating without words, passing the camera off and one to the other. Um, while taking example of the people, we were filming. In other words, they as singers had to learn to communicate and hit a certain note or find a certain harmony. And we were down there in the trenches with them doing the exact same thing. The other thing that's worth mentioning is both Angelique and I love observational cinema. That is to say, we consume observational documentaries. And those are the sort of documentaries that we also always wanted to create. So we were really happy that Ventureland were like, go for it. And, capture that kind of life, really get there and capture the essence of what it's like being a 20-year-old college student, and to do that in observational cinema. So it was really like a team effort, and it was a lot of fun. I have to say, many late hours passing the camera from one to the other, living like college students, and and really, getting that sense, which isn't too glossy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
slicky kind of interviews that put you at a distance with the people you're filming. You're there sitting in their bedrooms, in their college bedrooms, as they're trying to figure stuff out. That was the aesthetic we wanted to reach, and hopefully that's the sort of feeling you get once, the movie ends and the end credits come on, that everyone will come out feeling like, oh, I was just there in that 20-year-old stinky bedroom. I almost know what it feels like, and listen what they sound like when they sing.
That's awesome.
And to
Sarah, you so you're producer on the project, and I really want to get a little bit of your insight as to like your perspective on the subject going into it, because I know you're familiar with the Pitch Perfect movies, but like tell me about your perspective of this subject from when you um, became a part of the project to seeing the final product.
Well, I think it was actually something during COVID we were thinking about new documentaries, and the world of a cappella came up a few times, and it was something that everyone at Ventureland felt, there's so much joy in this topic, but there's also so much so much to resonate with a wide audience. So we kind of embarked on it with AB and Angelique, and then I'm trying to think. Amy and Angelique filmed for over 100 days with these kids and followed them all across America, went to loads of different places with them, met their parents. And I think what was surprising for me is just how close the kids are, how much they support each other, this sort of incredible bond that they have, but also how hard they work really to try and like pursue their dreams. I thought that was just really incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, and it is incredible to see in the documentary. You hear so much about their what they have to go through and what they do in order to make this happen and to make this reality for themselves. It's really cool to see. So I'm glad that that was a priority for you guys to make into a documentary. Um, so I think kind of winding this conversation down, one of the things I really want to talk about is the musical numbers, because again, it's giving Pitch Perfect, right? It's so the choreography, the vocals, the outfits, it's all very much like what we see in the movies. But I guess I want to know the challenges of capturing that. Like in a movie, you can do takes, right? You have plenty of takes, you can cut, you can reset, start back at one or whatever, right? But you guys kind of have one shot to get these performances, right? Tell me about filming these musical numbers.
Well,
So
I'll just take an about one part of it, which is I think, the performances happen once. However,
Mm-hmm.
the rehearsals happen a lot,
Right. There's a
right?
lot of rehearsals. That's true, but I think if I'm not mistaken, there were three performances that you guys captured along the competition.
Right.
Yes.
So I think watching the rehearsals in some degree were rehearsals for us because we knew
mhm.
who would have a solo when, who moves to this part at this moment in the dance. So it was sort of easy to conceptualize that aspect of things. Secondly, I think what we were really also understanding that will only happen once is the preparation and aftermath of these one-time performances. What does it look like when the person is really anxious before they go on stage? What is it like when the person is waiting to hear if they won or lost? I won't give a spoiler what happens at the end of the film, but we really had to be present 1000%, as you said, wearing a duo cinematographer director hats to be really one with each other and one with our documentary subjects. So I think that sort of mindset is what allowed us to really push through in that way. And and yeah, I think and I think Angelique can talk about the many camera crews that joined us for the performance they themselves. That was a
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that like, on a technical level, we went from being very intimate with just the two of us to having, three more cameras. But at the end of the day, the important aspect is what AB just said. Him being backstage and being intimate with them. They knew us. They don't know these strangers. They're about to get on stage. You can't fake the funk when you're backstage and you're nervous. It doesn't matter if there's a camera in your face. You are thinking about being great on stage. But because we knew them at that point, there was this intimacy that was captured that is more important than the moment that they're on stage, in our opinion. And that can only be captured through the verite style of like, having smaller gear and being backstage with them versus, the typical filming of a stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, great insight there. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up with one final question in like 30 seconds or less. Angelique, we'll start with you. What are you hoping for audiences at Tribeca? What are you hoping their reaction will be when they see this film? And I think there's a live performance that's happening as well at the festival. So what are you hoping the reaction is?
Obviously you want them to be excited and cheering and joyful, but I think that we were very mindful in crafting this story and choosing characters to represent the story. And I think that I want people to say, oh, I can relate to that person, even if it's the parent, like I think that I want people to, leave feeling like, oh, wow, that could be me, or that was me in college, or, I can relate to this person's story. Um, and just feeling like the same bittersweet feeling that the vocals might have felt when they competed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. AB, what are you hoping the reaction will be when people see this at Tribeca?
Well, I really hope that, like Angelique said, people will relate to the characters, and by that, not only the highs but also the lows that they go through. With the bottom line being that no matter how hard things get, you get up the next day and you sing. And I mean that like both literally, that I hope people just end up bursting into song as they walk out of the theater, but also like on a deeper level, I hope that that feeling, that song will make a dent, you know, in today's world, that an observational film about a cappella and kids singing will actually, their voices will actually get out there. That is like everything I'm hoping for.
That's awesome. Sarah, what are you hoping the reactions are?
Yeah, I don't think I can say it better than AB and Angelique, but I guess just to have people singing along and stamping their feet in the theater would be a dream. And of course, I'm just so excited for audiences to see the SoCal VoCals.
I'm so excited too. I'm sad that I can't be there, but I know you guys are going to have a great time, and I can't wait for more people to see this documentary. So congratulations on this film. Being at Tribeca and the work that you guys have done on it is amazing, and thank you again for having this conversation with me. I'm really happy we could do this.